thanks very much for coming. I'm Anne McDonald. I run Scotland Studies Centre in Edinburgh. It's a language school with a focus mainly on academic business English. And today the talk will be on ITC, an interactive approach to teaching and learning. Interactive text analysis, but it's an interactive text creation approach. So this is the structure of the talk. So basically, a problem, and ITC is a possible solution to the problem. And first, I'll go through the theory as quickly as I can, but the theory is really important to understanding the practice, and with an S, not a C. So it's action, it's actually getting involved. It's a change from seeing the text as a product. So this is the sort of normal approach to text structure. I, B, C. So do you know what I is?
Introduction.
Again?
Introduction.
Introduction, yes. B, body, and C,
Conclusion.
right. That's basically how people, I think, tend to teach writing. They say there's an introduction, body, conclusion. But this, I think, emphasizes the linear approach. Would you like to take a paper? Thanks. So it emphasizes a linear approach and also what I call a dissection approach. So it's the introduction, the body, the conclusion. And then there are the ideas and the language, like the different signals, rhetorical relations, and these are all separate. And then they have to be fitted into this very basic structure. And how useful is it? I think it's about as useful as a doctor telling a patient, you've got a head, a body, and feet. It's not really that useful. And as a student, I didn't find it useful. I had to learn how to write by myself. And I've been quite shocked that some of my students have come to me, they've reached 4th year, they're doing their dissertations, and they're told you can't write. And so they panic. So it's really not working, and not just for non-native speakers. Actually, non-native speakers often can write better because they often go and actually focus on it, but native speakers often can't. So I think what we need is a much more organic approach. So you see text as a kind of living kind of organism, and also there's the head which controls the rest of what happens, the rest of the interaction of all the different parts. And also it's situated in a context. So the context is also really important. So the interaction is going on in a lot of different levels. The level of the text itself, and also the context and the text. So it's very much a change from seeing the text as an object. It's very much a process and an interactive process, and it's action. So what is ITC, the theory? It's based in Michael Halliday, sort of functional semiotic linguistics, and it sees language as socially constructed in context. So meaning is constructed in a social context. And also meaning is choice. So life as well, everything you choose has an impact on everything else that happens to you. I became a teacher because I walked into the playground one day, the sun shone in my face, and I thought, I'll travel the world and speak foreign languages. And I went in and chose languages instead of science. And that was my whole life determined. And it's the same in a text. You make one choice and it affects the other choices. And the text kind of writes itself almost within this interaction. And Halliday talks about metafunctions, the ideational, the textual, and the interactive. Now, I've put text in big, bold red because that is where the focus is. That's where everything happens. I remember somebody in the 60s, I think it was Bartlett, talked about shaping at the point of utterance. So when you're speaking, you don't think about it immediately beforehand. Maybe you've thought about it previously, but when you're speaking, it comes together. And it's the same with the text. So you think about it beforehand, but don't think about it too much. Start writing it, and then it shapes itself, just like at the point of the pen or on the screen. So, and ITC is also based in rhetorical structure analysis, RSA. This is still within the Hallidayan functional linguistics, but it gives the structure to the writing. And also language as action based in the text. And the question is not so much what does X mean, but what do you mean by X, and what does language do? So it's very much action. You can change the world by it, basically. It's very much active. And the aims of ITC to develop awareness of how the text creation process works. So awareness raising is really, really important. And also the ability, so the theory and the practice. So how to make appropriate choices in the context. And these are the sort of specific aims, but more generally, to develop creativity. So you need to be creative because each text is different. Just like the bodies all kind of function similarly, but each person is different. So people have to be creative and flexible. So if you've got a student who asks, what is the rule? Well, there are some guidelines, but you have to be prepared to kind of see the rule being broken. So there's a quote, F. Scott Fitzgerald, the sign of intelligence is being able to hold two different ideas in your mind at the same time and still be able to function. So people need to be able to do this to be able to create text. So, and it's the same with basic grammar, like present tense, it's not the present, you use it for the future. You shouldn't really be teaching tenses at all, I think. So also confidence. Confidence is everything in education, and especially in language. And what helps build confidence also is to develop critical thinking. And through text analysis, this ITC approach, you train the students to be critical, and they actually find problems in text. So this approach is not just for writing, but it's also for reading. So they will look at a text and they'll say, oh, they don't have end weight here. Or, oh, they've broken the parallel construction here, so there's mistakes. So it helps students to understand that if they don't, if they don't understand a text, maybe it's not their problem, maybe it's the writer's problem. And this is the case in produced materials, especially like IELTS exams, where they just cut up texts and piece them together sometimes. And then you want to develop independence. And all of these skills are really, really important for academic study. So to become an independent learner, but ultimately, and I didn't write it on your handout, but maybe you can write it in big red letters on your paper, ultimately it's empowerment. So they can use the language to do what they want to do, and also to counter bias. So in the media there's so much bias, you can teach them how to recognize it. And it's just, I'll show you, some of you probably know these techniques already, but I'll go over them. There's lots of techniques where bias is in there, and on the surface it seems as though this is a balanced view, but actually it's not. So it's empowerment to counter that. So interactive is in a lot of different ways, and in black is the sort of traditional approach, I think, which is more based in ideas, the ideational. and the reader-writer interaction with the context. But ITC is the text, so everything takes place at that point on the text. That's where the meaning is created, and it kind of creates itself almost. So it's interaction among the different parts of the text, in interaction with the ideational content, in interaction with the writer, in interaction with the reader, in interaction with the context. So it's everything interacting and coming together in the text.